All right, guys, welcome back into another NBA DFS preseason video. Got the 12-18 picks here for you. This one's a little bit more interesting than kind of the last two slates. This is another big slate for preseason DFS. That's either a really good thing or a really bad thing. The tough part about today's slate specifically is that there's a few teams that have only played one game thus far. Then there's a few teams that are kind of, they've already played three games. So it's really tough to gauge whether, if that team that's only played one game, they're playing their second game. I would assume that their starters are going to get more run in this game. And then those teams that are going on their fourth game of the preseason, I would kind of assume that those starters are going to not play as much. Now, those are assumptions, and that's kind of the problem with today's slate. A bigger slate like this, it's going to make for a lot more variance and a lot more news that we have to concentrate on right before lineup lock. So it's definitely something you should stay tuned to right before lineup lock. But we'll start off here with the first game on the slate, and that's going to be Miami versus Toronto. So already we do have some questionable players here, so we'll have to kind of wait and see on the news on that. Is Jimmy Butler going to play? That is the relevant news that we are looking at today. Overall with Miami, though, there's not too much that I love with them. Really, it does depend a lot on if Jimmy Butler's going to play. I would guess that he's not going to play. He was ruled out in Monday's game, but we got to wait and see in the news on that. Obviously, just looking at minutes wise, I would assume that they're going to spread it out. Once again, this is another one of those teams that they've only played one game thus far, though, so maybe the starters do play a little bit more than previously would be expected for preseason games. Just looking at the minutes from the first game, Kendrick Nunn played 32 minutes. I mean, that's pretty crazy. Now, that was with Goran Dragic and Jimmy Butler out. I would expect Dragic to play, but we already know that the Heat typically do spread out their minutes. So I don't see this game being one that we typically would want to go on attack. Maybe Tyler Hero gets a little bit more run in this one. He had 28 minutes in their first game. But overall, this is looking like a game that I just really don't think that we should go out and attack really aggressively at all. I expect all their starters to get right around 25 minutes, but tough to predict overall with that. So move on to the Toronto side of the ball. I do like this side a little bit more, but overall, still not one that I would go crazy with. Just looking at their minutes, the starters haven't been playing that much in their first two preseason games. They only played right around 20 minutes, which really isn't good. And that's something that you really don't want to force into today's game. Now, I do expect the starters to play a little bit more. We got to wait and see on news for Kyle Lowry right now. Currently expect to have a minutes limit starter season, whatever. So for preseason purposes, I'm guessing that he's not going to play that much. Fred VanVleet has played decently well in the preseason, but 6.3, I don't want to pay up that much for a guy that's going to get right around 20 minutes projected. So that's my worry there. Really, just this game just mostly seems like a stay away for me. Maybe Pascal Siakam can get it like 25 minutes and play a little bit, effectively and get there with a DK point per minute type of play. Same thing for Chris Boucher here. He's always been a DK point per minute player. If he gets right around 20 minutes, I could see him easily get into like 25, 30 DK points. And that would really be the only game out of this whole, or the only play out of this whole game that I really would encourage, because there's tons of better other plays out there. Really, for this game, I'm only going to be looking for a value play. All right, we'll move on to a better game. We got Cleveland versus the New York Knicks. Move on to the point guards here. So lots of injury news. We'll start out on the Cleveland side of the ball. So Colin Sexton, most likely going to be out. He's questionable at the way and see on that. So Darius Garland was a player that I liked a decent amount last game, just due to the fact that he was expected to get a decent amount of run, and he did. 22 minutes in their first game, and then he also had around the same amount of minutes in their last game. Their last game was against the Knicks as well. He didn't do that much, though. He had 13 points, 5 assists, 1 steal, 1 rebound. That's not going to be enough. But still, the minutes should be there for him, so that is a play that I decently do like. The play that I like the most, once again, on this game is going to be Isaac Oroku here. Again, 30 minutes in his last game, 10 points, 2 steals, 2 assists, 1 rebound. You want him to do a little bit more on the box sheet there. Probably get a couple more rebounds, maybe another assist, but he is getting the points there. And at 4.2, that's an absolutely great value. That's going to open up a ton for a guy that's probably going to get 30 minutes once again today. So for me, that value is going to be very tough for me to pass up on. And then we're looking at the power forward center spot for them. So obviously they're a little bit banged up. I think that's why Oroku is going to get that amount of run that we're projecting him to get. Cedi Osman, he's out, so we don't have to worry about him as a play. So kind of going back to the small forward, one of these guys are going to get a decent amount of run. Dotson, I could see him getting, 20 minutes, being able to pat the stat sheet there. I don't mind it. This dude had 8 rebounds, 8 points. Don't mind that as well. But really, the play here is going to be like Andre Drummond for a little bit of it. Even if he gets 20 minutes, this is why I said kind of in the last game. If he gets 20 minutes, he's really going to be able to go out and dominate. He'll probably get a double-double, and that's exactly what he did in the last game. He still had 5 assists in that one as well. So that's something that you do want to see. Thon Maker really didn't do anything stat-wise, but he is min-priced here. And he's probably going to get right around 25 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. If he can just make a few shots, maybe a 3-pointer here or there, he should easily, hit value. I'm not sure how much of a ceiling that he has, though. But there's definitely some value here. Isaac Oroku is definitely the go-to value play, especially in that game. It's just safe, and he's going to exceed it. Now, going back to the New York side of the ball, once again, these teams did face each other in their last matchup. The plays that I really liked that day were a little bit of Alfred Payton. I really liked RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett actually came up clutch at the end of the game. Played well at the end of the game, was able to hit value. Played 30 minutes, okay? If he does that again, going to be a great play. So I like RJ Barrett, especially at that price point. Julius Randle probably going to get the minutes again. He saw right around 30 minutes in their last game. 18 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. And we know Tibbs. He typically does like to play his starters, okay? So I think we can expect them to play, right around 25 minutes. But this goes back to my point at the start of the video, is that we do have to worry a little bit about the fact that the Knicks are one of the few teams that have actually played 3 preseason games already. So maybe the starters don't get as much run. And that's really the only worry with this play. But still, I really do like Julius Randle. And then Mitchell Robinson with Nerlens Noel out. He saw 32 minutes. I don't want to say the lock word, especially in preseason DFS, but this is kind of a standout play. He had a double-double in their last game. I expect that to kind of continue as well. So lots of great early value on the slate. So, I'll probably have a decent amount. I'll probably have some exposure like this on that slate for tonight. But we'll move on to the next game, Boston versus Brooklyn. Now, this is going to be an interesting one as well. Kemba Walker's still out. Kyrie Irving, we're going to expect him to see a little bit more minutes. KD played a little bit more minutes than expected too as well in the first game. Brooklyn is playing their second game. So where are they going to divvy up the minutes? That's the real question here. They really kind of split them right down the middle, which is my worry. Just their first game, I'll read down the minute charts. The highest minutes played was Spencer Dinwiddie at 25. The next was Kevin Durant at 24, which is great. But that was it. I would expect the starters to get a little bit more run here, but Kyrie Irving, Spencer Dinwiddie, they're probably going to get right around 24. LeVert, probably 20 or so. Stop. Torian Prince, maybe 15. I expect KD to probably get right around 25 again. It's been a while since he's played, so they probably want to get him mentally into NBA games, I guess, if that makes sense. Just he's been out long. They want to get him on the court again, get the field back going again. And then Jared Allen or DeAndre Jordan. I mean, these are just all punt plays, and I don't like that. That's my biggest problem. It doesn't make sense to really go ahead and go gung-ho for Kevin Durant when he's only going to play 25 minutes, or Kyrie Irving when he's only going to play 25 minutes. Now, if we get news that they're going to play, 3 quarters, then I like that. That's fine. But for me right now, it just doesn't make sense. Now, going on into the Boston side of the ball, they're another team that's only played 1 game. They were without Kemba Walker, and, it really seemed like Tatum and, Jeff Teague and Jaylen Brown were going to be solid plays in the first game, and they weren't bad. They just weren't great. They only played 20 minutes, and I expect that number to definitely elevate tonight. So, they played right around 22 minutes in the first game. I think that number is going to get closer to 25, maybe 27. It depends on the little rotation there. But Jeff Teague, I don't mind at this price point. He played 19 minutes, had 18 points. Really didn't do anything else stat-wise, though, which was kind of surprising to me. If he gets a couple more assists, maybe a few less points, a couple of rebounds are there. 4.6 is still too cheap for him for a guy that probably should get right around 23 minutes. I actually don't mind that play. Jaylen Brown, I expect him to get a little bit more run, but there's better quality plays at the same price point on the slate, so I don't think we have to really force that in today. But you could. I mean, I don't mind it. It's kind of a lineup filler play. Jason Tatum, I already touched on him a little bit. Had 10 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block, 1 steal. If he gets 27 minutes at 8.4, he'll probably hit value, but still, to me, not worth paying up for. We have some better plays on the slate once again. And then just looking at the center side of the ball, Taco Fall, I wish he would have played a little bit better. Robert Williams was kind of the chalk in his last slate, and he didn't do that much. He played 19 minutes, 8.6 rebounds. If he does that again at this price point, I'm fine with it. That'll work, but nothing that you want to go crazy with as well. So moving on to Milwaukee and New Orleans. These are both two teams that have only played one preseason game as well. And this is kind of where I think we should start paying up for some of the studs. Now, I was a little bit surprised at Zion's price point. I mean, it's really shocking, to be honest with you guys. What do you guys think? To me, this was like the best value on the slate. The dude played 30 minutes in their first preseason game and dominated. 26 real life points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, and he's priced at 6.2. I don't really get that. Maybe matchup wise, they're worried about the Milwaukee Bucks. That could be. I get that. But still, it's a preseason game. I mean, come on. That's just really shocking to me. Same thing with the other starters. Brandon Ingram, Alonzo Ball, Josh Hart, they all saw 30 minutes. And you're telling me that Alonzo Ball is right around the same price point as Zion? I don't know. That's just really shocking to me. You can really play anyone. Revenge game, Eric Bledsoe? Not yet. I don't know if you guys saw that. Bledsoe kind of gave the Bucks a shout out for being great teammates and whatnot. So there's no real revenge game narrative there with him. He's going to be playing in this one, though, I'd assume. Yep, expected to play in this one. So maybe the starters get less run in this one, but I expect them to get, kind of the normal amount of run, 25 minutes or so. Other side or other plays that I like for the Pelicans, Brandon Ingram, I'm fine with 7.9. Kind of priced up there. Don't mind it, though. And then one surprising thing was that Jackson Hayes did see right around 25 minutes. Obviously, Steven Adams, he doesn't have to play that much. So there could be some value there with Jackson Hayes. If you're looking for a value center play, Jackson Hayes does make a decent amount of sense. Then going back to the Milwaukee side of the ball, they're another team that actually played a decent amount of minutes. Sorry, they played 2 preseason games, both against the Mavs. Their second preseason game, the starters played, 25 to 30 minutes. Giannis played 27. Middleton played 30. Drew Holiday played 30. Okay. And, if they're going to get that same amount of minutes as well, they're going to be too cheap on this slate. You got Giannis at 9.6. We know if he's going to get 27 minutes, he's probably going to get 20 points, probably going to get a double-double, going to get a decent amount of assists. So I don't mind paying up for him. That kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's that I'd much rather pay up for Giannis than some of those other kind of questionable plays there that we talked about earlier. So that's kind of what I'm looking at there. Paying up for kind of Zion and Giannis there. And then Drew Holiday, I expect him to have a better game going against the Pelicans, obviously his former team. He had 30 minutes in their last game, 11 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. He hasn't really been shooting the ball well just yet. I would expect kind of the Bucks to try to get him going in the offense a little bit more today rather than test it out in the regular season. So I don't mind him. 7.7 is a lot to pay up for him, though. And then Chris Middleton as well at this price point. That seems fair. Like, I think he'll hit value at this price point. Don't really see him exceeding that too much. But that's really it. I mean, you could do a lineup with kind of the starters in this game and feel pretty good about it overall. Now, you could easily stack this game and feel decently about it. Obviously, you'd have to mix and match which you prefer here, but this is kind of what I would be looking at. Obviously, you go Jackson Hayes as well, like I mentioned. Bobby Portis is a player that I do like just in general for the Bucks as well. He's been playing right around 20 minutes. I don't think that number's going to go up, so we can't really play him. But just in general, there's going to be a time this year where Bobby Portis is chalk. All right, moving on to the next game, Chicago versus OKC. This was a good one because Kobe White and Zach LaVine for the last game for me was huge. They both went off. Both had over 20 points. That was nice. They both had 40 DK points. That was super nice. Obviously, we're not expecting that again, but they're another team that's playing their 4th preseason game. And just kind of looking over their stats is that they kind of have been playing the same amount of minutes so far. I don't think they're going to get over 30, but I do think they're going to get right around 25 minutes. And for me, I think that'll be enough. What's up, Infamous? Yeah, so I don't know. Preseason revenge games, does that really count? I mean, are we factoring that in? That's the question of the day, I guess. Do we factor in revenge games in preseason? I don't know. That's interesting. Um, yeah, this Bulls Thunder game is interesting to me. Obviously, they played the last time out. Bulls won. I don't think that really matters, but I do like going back to the well with Kobe White again. That's a fine price point. Zach LaVine, I expect him kind of to get 35 DK points once again, and at that price point, I'm perfectly good with that. That makes a ton of sense. Um, Patrick Williams here played 27 minutes, 7 rebounds, 13 points. I'm fine with that at 5.5. That makes sense. I think he'll get there at that price point. Otto Porter Jr. to me is a fine play. He's coming off the bench, I believe, again tonight, which I think will help him because he comes in for the second unit. He can kind of run and gun. He can kind of play his game, okay? He had 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 8 points. He chucked the ball up 7 times, only made 3 shots. But what I like about him is that, yeah, he's going in with that second unit. He's going to be the go-to guy in that second unit. Heck, he should be a starter on most. He should be a starter on this team in general. But at 5.2, that makes a lot of sense to me. I do like him as a play. Going to the OKC side of the ball once again, guys. I just don't like the OKC side of the ball really at all. Just it's tough to predict, really. They're spreading out their minutes. They got a bunch of young guys in there. And even the guys that got a ton of minutes really did not do much with them in general. Just they're spreading it out. They're spreading the usage, which worries me. Now, the starters could get a little bit more run in this one. And, that could happen. And there is some value here. If you want to punt some value plays here, you can. But overall, I don't see the point of forcing it in there. Al Horford, it was interesting. 15 minutes, though. 15 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist. So, maybe if he gets a little bit more run, if we're expecting him to get 20 minutes or so, I could see it. Another rotation, aka if he gets another rotation. 4.8 is too cheap for him then, but once again, don't want to force that. All right, Portland versus Denver, and then we got one more game, and then we're wrapping it up, and then I'll do kind of my last look build or first look build for today, and then I'll be getting out of here. All right, so we're going to start with the Portland side of the ball here in this Denver game. Starters did play 30 minutes in their last game against the Denver Nuggets, but they absolutely got blown out, 95 to 126. But still, if the starters are going to get this amount of minutes, I mean, Damian Lillard only made 1 shot or 1 3 on 8 attempts. I don't think he's going to do that again. And if he's playing 30 minutes at this price point, we do like that a ton. CJ McCollum is a little bit priced up for me. Don't want to roll with him. Derrick Jones Jr. playing decently, but 5.3 is too much for me to pay up for him today. Really, that's it. The one bad play from this game for me in the last game was Harry Giles. He had played like 30 minutes each of the last 2 games, and then last game he only played 12. And that just kind of goes to show you what can happen with preseason. Those minutes can vanish just randomly, and that does happen a decent amount. But overall, really Dame is the only one I want in this game. Maybe Enes Kanter as well, just because I don't see Giles getting that much run. And obviously Enes Kanter's always been a point per minute player. At 4.3, it does make a ton of sense. If he's going to get 15 to 20 minutes at 4.3, that's just simply too cheap. And I would favor him a little bit more over Jackson Hayes. I know I mentioned Jackson Hayes as a value center play, but I think Kanter would make more sense then. And then just going to the Denver side of the ball real quick. They're a team that also spreads the minutes out, but if we know Jokic is going to get 25 minutes or so like he did in his last game, he could easily get a double-double. He could easily get a triple-double. Heck, he almost had a triple-double in that last game against Portland. So I don't mind any of these guys. If you end up on them, I'm good with it. But once again, I don't know if we should really necessarily be going out of our way. I will say Jamal Murray, he is priced pretty cheap, so he does make sense to me. He's going to get right around 25 minutes. That does make a decent amount of sense to me, so you can roll with him. I just don't get why he is cheaper than Will Barton. I don't know. That's weird to me. Gary Harris is pretty cheap, but I don't think we have to play him. Michael Porter Jr., 6.5. That's too much for me to pay up for him. He's got a lot of name value to him right now, and yeah, that's just not sitting well with me for the slate. All right, so we'll finish it up here with the Lakers versus the Suns. Another game that I really am not loving that much. I don't think AD and LeBron are going to play all that much, and that's just trying to figure out where the minutes go from there. Kyle Kuzma has been getting a decent amount of run, and if he does get that run again today, he's going to be the go-to guy in that offense. 5.8. I like. If he gets 30 minutes, like I'd almost lock that in, but that's not guaranteed. But once again, why would you play LeBron and AD all that much, especially in your fourth preseason game? You can let them rest up right before season and, feel good about it. So I don't expect them to play that much, but they could get like 25 minutes, and then that would mean some of these other plays are not as good. But overall, you could probably go back to Horton Tucker. He played 24 minutes in the last game after really getting a ton of minutes. He's still shooting the ball a ton. 4.5 is still too cheap for him, especially if he's going to get that amount of minutes. He's going to start shooting that amount again like he has this whole preseason. That's just really cheap for him. So that really doesn't make all too much sense to me. And then, Harrell, point per minute player again. He played 22 minutes. 6.4 is a little bit priced up, but I do expect him to hit that value once again. Not a bad play. All right, now moving on to the Phoenix side of the ball to wrap it up. I should mention these guys did play in their last game. Lakers won, but it was a pretty good game. Devin Booker did play 25 minutes in that last game, which, that's enough for him to be able to hit value. He had 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 16 points. That's good enough for me. I just don't want to pay 8.6. Once again, I would rather pay for some of those other, quality pay-up plays, but he's not a bad play at that price point. One surprising thing is that Deandre Hayne, he feasted. He had 21 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist, 4 steals. Obviously, that elevated his DK point total, but still 21 points. That was solid. 6.9. I think there's other quality center plays, but if he gets there again today, that's not going to shock anyone. Not bad. But overall, nothing that I like too much in this game. Really, you're going to have to be up a decent amount going into the LA Phoenix game. But if you are doing pretty well, I think you're going to feel good about it. I don't think you're going to lose that much ground because there's not as much quality of plays in that game. All right, so we'll close out this build here. We'll be wrapping up. So yeah, Giannis, I mentioned I want to get him in there. I also do want to get Zion in there. Julius Randle is another one that I do want to get in there if I can, but we'll go with Robinson in the center spot, the other side of the center spot there. 4.6, just wow. There's a lot of cheap center plays. All right, so point guard. What's up, Mikey boy? New to NBA, is cash or double ups the way to go? Dude, they're kind of all the same. That's the problem with NBA for me is that I've noticed that there's not that big of a separation between cash and GPPs. So, I mean, there is like on a, I guess, weekly basis, if you just like chop it down like that, it would be, but on a per night basis, sometimes it's harder to cash in cash contests than it is in GPPs. That happens a ton in NBA, which that's the biggest worry. I mean, right now, for me personally, with NBA contests, I just will enter a little bit in single entry double ups. But mostly I'm still doing my single entry GPPs, and I'm more focusing on GPPs. The thing with GPPs is that people will tend to make more risky plays in NBA than they would any other sport because half of it is just kind of getting lucky with the game stack that either goes in overtime or someone gets a little bit of an extended run. So the point totals in NBA are kind of closer for the two contests. So I wouldn't really stress cash or, GPPs. I mean, I would favor like a single entry GPP for sure, but there's not a huge difference. And yeah, definitely don't go all in with preseason. It's fun, and it's doing the research now for preseason can really help you out at the end of the season as well when not many people are paying attention, and that's kind of the best time to play is either at the beginning or at the end of the season because not as many eyes are on it. And if you really concentrate for those 7 days at the start or at the end of the season, you can really do pretty well, but you never want to go crazy with it. You don't. Yeah, let's finish up this build here. Trying to figure out where I want to go. I know I do want Oroku in there as well. I just think he's a solid value play. 4.2 for a guy that's probably going to get 30 minutes or so. I like that. I kind of like Drew Holiday, but 7.7 is a lot to pay up for him, especially on tonight's slate. So Kobe White, I'm going to go back to the well with him. And then for now, I'm going to put Zach LaVine back in there, and then we can figure out where we would want to go pay up for it here. I mean, there's a lot of routes. Maybe you don't trust Enes Kanter. You could easily go up from Enes Kanter. And then maybe Julius Randle. Can we fit him in there? I think it's close. I think he was a little bit priced up. Oh, dang, I hate that. It's the worst feeling. It really is. Probably go off of Tucker to fit Randall in there, but you guys kind of get the overall feel for tonight's slate. It's gonna be a good one. All right, but thanks for watching, guys. I'm gonna be heading out. Hope you guys have a good kind of final 2 days of NBA preseason DFS. Gonna try to grow on NBA here for 9 to 5 as well. So definitely hit that like. Please give me a subscribe. I do appreciate that. We'll begin the NFL core plays video out here later this afternoon. Probably gonna do a live video for that as well. Kind of just like doing live videos a little bit more. Like interacting with you guys on the chat. So, all right, thanks for watching, guys, and as always,